This is the Success Through Community podcast. So the book that we're going to be talking about this week is another one by one of my favorites, Pat Flynn. And I do have a fun new story to share for anyone who doesn't watch my YouTube channel. And if you don't, shame on you. But either way, I have a fun story, but it is Pat Flynn. The book, though, is not his newest. I am aware that he has a new book. I have the audiobook, I think, because I kind of pre-order all his stuff. It's like, I almost should just put that on like automation. If it's Mel Robbins or Pat Flynn, just pre-order the book because I want it, especially the audio, because I love both of them when they narrate. Mm-hmm. But it's not his newest book, which is Lean Learning. It is an older one called Will It Fly? And it's so interesting to me. This is like one of those times where, like, we've talked a lot about how sometimes the right book finds you in the right time, or like you've tried to read it before but you couldn't get through it, but then suddenly it's like gold, you know what I mean? It's like stuff like that.
The book finds you when it's supposed to, right?
Exactly. And this season, two books that are like almost identical, not identical. I'm not going to say that because that's mean to the two authors. Like, they didn't have original thoughts. They absolutely had original thoughts, but like the exact same topic for me in the same season ended up on my TBR. And I don't know how that happened, especially because the other book, which we've already talked about, which was $1 Million Weekend by Noah Kagan, I had no idea what that was about. And honestly, I quote, picked that book up because I thought I was going to disagree with it based on the title, because I thought he was going to talk about how to make $1 million in the weekend, which is garbage, but it wasn't. It was totally about this. And so it's like, it's one of those moments where I'm like, are you trying to tell me something? Is there something that I'm not doing that I should be doing? And I think the answer is yes. So basically, if you listened to the $1 Million Weekend episode, then you already know what Will It Fly is about. But the title Will It Fly is a little more, I think, descriptive. I think it's a little more clear what it's about. Like, at least I had an impression of what it was about when I got in. I was correct. So, you know, it's basically about doing your market research and vetting your idea before you invest all your time and or money into said idea. You haven't read this book, right?
I have not read Will It Fly, but
Okay.
what was the other one we just mentioned?
$1 Million
Weekend. I have read bits and pieces of that one.
Okay. But we already talked about it, so you know more what's about. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and this is kind of one of those situations. Like, I liked $1 Million Weekend. I again listened to it. Not bad in self-narrating his book, but like not Pat Flynn or Mel Robbins. Like, it was fine, but it was just like not as engaging for me. And so I ended up putting him on 2X. Sorry, Noah. But it just wasn't as engaging for me. And so like I just kind of wanted to get through some pieces of it. But there was a lot of really, really good stuff in there. And obviously he knows what he's talking about and all of that. But another thing that Pat always does, and if you don't know this about him, I'm going to tell you this about him. So when he writes a book, he always creates a free companion course to go along with it.
Pat does.
Yes. So you have visuals and like extras. So like if you're listening to his audiobook, you're already getting extras, because that's one of the things that he does is he goes off script and just like tells extra stories and whatever, which is why I love it. But then you also have all these extras where he might throw in little videos, or he'll at very least like link to the stuff he's talking about in the book. And like, I'm a visual learner. So especially if I listen to an audiobook, I lose that layer, which is one of the dangers of listening versus reading for me. But Pat addresses that with the course, and it's totally free. You just have to give him your email, and he's had my email like 15,000 times. So I don't mind giving it to him again. So that's one of the things I love about him, because he's really like helping you to make what he's teaching actionable. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. So I'm kind of getting the vibe that like, um, Will It Fly is more of a checklist, whereas $1 Million Weekend is more idea based, more guidance, not a step by step,
Yes.
but Pat Flynn gives you a little bit more in
Yes.
depth.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. I mean, Noah does get into some steps and like this is what you should do and he does and I think I even like took notes, like jotted down his like steps. But like the way Pat does it, he has like exercises that you
Yeah.
do along with him. In fact, one of them I brought into because I started reading this book. So this is one of the problems when you have a podcast that's all about reading books and you don't have time to read. Because I started this book so long ago that I think I pulled one of these exercises into like a year-end exercise in the academy. That tells you how long ago because it is July when we are recording this right now. That's how long it took me to listen to the book. No, I finished it like a month ago, but point being that like it was so impactful that even out of context, I could see how beneficial these exercises were.
Wow.
And that one was what he calls the airport test. And I don't know, I can't remember if you were there, Joe, when we did it. But it's essentially helping you to visually I don't want to say map out because it's not really mapping it out. It's not like a flow. It's more like a paper with quadrants where you're visualizing your goal for the next year. You're visualizing your vision casting, as it were, right? So he had you like write down these quadrants. He chose, and you could choose whatever, but like he chose family, professional, finances, and health. And but you could choose your four that made sense for you. And you were like jotting down in the awesome, like SMART goal kind of format, right? Or smartest, really, because he took it all the way to like making sure that it's actionable and it's timely and talking about it in the present or even past tense, which, I don't remember if we've talked about that here, but like it's so important for the mindset, right? To feel like
Yep.
you have achieved or, you are achieving or whatever it might be.
Hmm.
So he definitely did that. But one of the things I absolutely love is and I'm looking at it right now, which y'all can't tell that I'm like motioning at something constantly. Jolene can see me doing that. Um,
Just glad it's not 3D because I'd be dodging.
but the thing is that like I'm looking at the course right now because it's helping me remember what I wanted to talk about. And he literally posted a photograph of the first time he did this. So I'm literally seeing his example of what he wrote down in his writing, which is so helpful because this is where you have that blank page like
Hmm.
paralysis sometimes, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to write goals about these topics.
Now what?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, so having those examples is so helpful. I mean, they're very specific to him, but it really just helped me formulate my stuff, and like what I wanted to write about and how I wanted to word it and all that stuff. And so essentially what the reason he calls it the airport test is that it's meant to be like if you were like waiting for your flight, you're sitting at the airport bar and somebody sits next to you and you're talking to them and you're trying to explain to them like what your plan is or what your goal is or whatever. So it's kind of like it got similar qualities to like the elevator pitch, right? Is like you have to like really get clarity,
Yep.
which I think is one of the hardest things, right? It's one of the things we all struggle with the most is to like really get to that level of clarity. And so this really helps you do that so that you're approaching whatever your next thing is, whatever you're trying to vet with his system, you're approaching it from a perspective of clarity as to where you want to go. And like that really is the first step. But I
Mhm.
think like I know I skipped that step a couple times.
A couple times. Me too.
I mean, I skip it a lot because it feels like I end up doing it after. Like, okay, here's my strategy, my plan, blah blah blah. Now here's my goals for that plan. And it's like, no, that's backwards. And I totally see
Right.
that now,
And
right?
then when you get that clarity, when you do it the other way around and you have that clarity, it's so much easier to accomplish those goals and figure out how you're going to do it.
Right, because now it's
So,
like you're mapping things too, right? It's like,
yeah.
here's part of the strategy that I wanna vet, and it maps to this goal in this quadrant, and that's how I know it's aligned with my values, right? It's like all those things in beginning so that you don't
Mhm.
waste a bunch of time building something, and then you wake up in that potentially successful business and say, "Wait, I didn't want this isn't where I wanted to end up." You know what I mean? Like, how
Mhm.
many times has that happened to you? Because it certainly happened to me.
This is this like the first exercise in the book? Because it
Yeah,
kind of should be. So,
well,
yeah.
it's chapter 2.
Okay.
Chapter 1 is before your journey begins. That's pretty much the only thing that can come before
Yep.
before that. And so, yeah, it's the first exercise, chapter 2. And I'm not gonna go through every single one because honestly, like, I could. This is like let me scroll down. There are 18 chapters and all of them are as meaty as that. So if I were to go through every single one of them, this might compete with our longest episode ever. So I'm not going to do that. But that one was so impactful to me
Yeah.
and like so
And it shows.
actionable.
I need to interrupt though, because it shows, because
Yeah.
over the past 6 months, the so much has shifted for you and the company,
Hmm.
and in such a positive way that it really shows that when you took that step and you found that clarity, everything started to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really did. And honestly, like I'm gonna be really honest. And Pat, if someday you ever hear this episode, I'm sorry. But I finished the book, but I did not do all of the exercises. And here's the thing though. I think part of it is because I'm not currently, as I'm listening to the book, first off, I was listening to it a lot of the time on headphones walking around
Yeah.
the neighborhood and stuff like that. And so, like, I couldn't do it in the moment. This is one of those books where I should have been listening or reading like at my desk and I wasn't. Um, but also, I wasn't really in a season of my business to vet the next thing yet. Right.
Mhm.
So, like, this now tells me, like, when I'm ready to do that, which might be coming more shortly than I would have liked, and we'll not go into those details right now, but, like, I now know, okay, as I figure out the next thing, I'm gonna run it through this process. I'm gonna take the time, I'm gonna print out the printables, I'm gonna do all the things and vet it, because the next thing that I'm looking towards in my business will be a large process. It'll be a big time commitment if I'm gonna do it, and I need to make sure it's worth it first,
Yeah.
you know? And so now I feel like I have the tools. I know how to do this. So, and he gives a lot of great examples. I mean, that's I think he used as an example throughout the entire book somebody who wants to start a business related to fly fishing. I mean, this is one of the things I love about Pat. He picks the most random topics. I'm not sure where he got that from or why he picked it. But I mean, this is the guy who decided to do an experiment on YouTube where he started a faceless channel all about Pokemon just to see if his strategies, that he always talks about people using would work when his name wasn't tied to it, right?
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff he does, which by the way, he totally is already at 1 million subscribers and like killing it with
Does
that
he
channel.
still do it?
Yeah,
I love
because
it.
he started doing it because his kid liked Pokemon. And so he thought, okay, well, worst case scenario, I get into something with my kid. Like,
Yeah.
that's the worst case scenario of this experiment, right? So he just decided to go for it. And like all it showed that his strategies worked and were successful. And this is where I don't think we've talked about this here, but he has a philosophy about like the 60-day, forget what he calls it, but it's like kind of like a 60-day challenge. Like when you're trying something new in your business, I would say especially when it's, like, content related because that can be so
Time
just
consuming.
time consuming, but also, like, out of your hands and volatile, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so, he has this kind of, like, 60-day challenge of when you decide to do something, you commit to doing it for 60 days because you have to give it a fair chance before you give up on it and move on, right?
Honestly, I agree with that 100%, but I honestly not, I guess depends on the strategy. I don't know if 60 days is enough. in
I think
my
it depends.
opinion.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
absolutely depends on what you're talking about, but, like, I think for, like, a YouTube strategy or an Instagram strategy or something like that, if
Yeah.
you don't start seeing he's not saying, "Oh, I achieved my goal in 60 days." He's saying,
If you don't
like,
see
"I'm
movement.
seeing the progress. It's
Yeah.
heading in the right direction," right? If you're not seeing that within 60 days, then this is probably not worth your time, right? And I don't even think that might even have originally come from this book. I don't remember. I've read so much of his stuff now, I don't remember what comes from what anymore, but it doesn't really matter because it's all, like, part of his genius and, like, what he is sharing and teaching. So, but I think it's totally relevant, right? Because you're vetting all this stuff and maybe 60 days I don't think 60 days is really part of this process, though, because he's
Mhm.
talking about the same stuff that Noah talked about where it's like, ideally, you're making some sales before you even launch the thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Whereas Noah's strategy or his example or his experiment, I should say, was that he randomly started a jerky membership. Like, again, like random ideas, but it's proof that even without their name, even without their
It's
following,
doable.
yeah, the strategies are legit. The strategies work if you follow them, right?
Right. And they're not, from what I understand from Pat, like I've not read his stuff front to back. But from what I understand, he doesn't say, do as I did. He gives you strategies. He gives you concepts to follow, not
Correct.
this is what you need to do. Follow my instructions. It'll work for everybody.
Oh, yeah, no, if he was like that, I would not like him.
Yeah.
Like, he's definitely not, "This exact strategy is going to work for you." He's very much, teach you how to fish, to bring it
Perfect.
back to fly fishing. Um, which is great because he was talking about like, this is why I love he picked something so random like fly fishing because a big part of and I can't remember which of the chapters it was from, I'm not even gonna look at that anymore, I'm just gonna go off the cuff because I remember this very specifically. He was talking about ways that you can do your research in your industry no matter what it is, right? And for
Right.
those of us who like our industry is business, we're a business coach or a business mentor or, something like that. Like we have no excuse when we try to say, "Oh, I don't know where to do the research." Like seriously, because it's everywhere. Like there are
Yeah.
so
It's
many
everywhere.
places that you could do that research. But fly fishing, that's a little more obscure, is a little harder to find.
Hey,
Not
back to a
not
fly fisher.
Yeah, but I mean, like, not so much the concept of, like, how to fly fish or whatever, but, like, how to find your audience in fly fishing. Like, if you're trying to sell something, like, how do you talk to fly fishermen? Where are
Hmm.
fly fishermen looking? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
except for
Yeah.
in, like, Bass Pro Shop, like, yeah, they're looking there, but, like, if your product is not there, if you're trying to do market research, you can't go to those places. So
Yeah.
where do you find them? And, like, turns out there's, like, blogs and podcasts about fly fishing. Go figure. I had no idea. Like, literally every topic. But he gave you a lot of great tools to help you know where to start looking to find where you can do your research, right? He's not just saying, like, "Go do your market research." And, like,
Nice.
"Oh, yeah, Facebook groups could be good." Like, that's not he's giving you multiple strategies and multiple places to check and look. And one of them is your competitors.
Oh,
Like, find
absolutely. Yeah.
find anybody that and when you're talking about fly fishing, that might be few and far between, but, like, find somebody who's doing something similar or targeting the same audience that you think you wanna target, and go look at what are they doing. Maybe if it's a small enough niche, reach out and talk to them. And find
Hmm.
out how they found the audience. You know what I mean? Like those kinds of things, which I found really interesting because you don't often hear people suggesting or giving you the strategy of go talk to your competitors and ask them how they found success. Like,
Well,
I mean, it's one thing to watch them and try to like glean, but
I
like
think
to go
it's,
ask is just I love
I
that.
don't know. I disagree because I've always kind of had that thought process and that kind of mindset. And I mean, and that comes from the photographer in me. We had a photography community. We all photographed weddings, right? We all photographed babies and families and all of the things. And it was like, "How did you land?" Like, I got asked all the time, "How did you land Paul Brett?" "Well, let me tell you, this is how I did it." And it was always community over competition. And that's kind of, I think, the vibe that Pat's giving. Like, make
Yeah.
friends with your competitors because community over competition, there's enough business out there for everybody,
Yeah.
regardless, big or small, and fly fishing or beef jerky subscriptions. There's enough business out there for everybody. It's
Yeah.
just how you want to get your business out there. And if you are, I would say, if you are friends with your competitors, I personally think you'll be all the more successful.
I agree. I just don't feel like I hear like mentors talk about that in
Yeah, it's
that
true.
way. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
totally agree. And I feel like they're doing that behind the scenes, but they don't always tell you that they're doing that. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I loved about it was that like he's not talking about specific people that he does in other books, but like specific people that he would go to and do that kind of research. In this context, he's not because obviously this is fly fishing that he's using and that's not his business. But like I just love that he says that and that you know that, like, he practices what he preaches because his main business is SPI, which is his, like, community, right?
Yeah.
Where he's, like, putting people together and helping them do exactly what he's talking about. So
Mhm.
I love that he's showing that in action and, like, how you're meant to he even, like, will tell you the exact email actually, Noah did this too. They will read you the exact email that they wrote to XYZ person to ask a certain question or to
Mhm.
do their market research or whatever. He will give you the script if you
Yeah,
want
that's
it,
great.
you
Yeah,
know?
that's great. That
Yeah,
that makes me think of, like, it absolutely, it makes me think of, like, Adam Grant and I believe it's Simon Sinek, where
it
those
is.
2, they have a great relationship, and
But they didn't always.
they didn't always,
No,
but look what happens
I know.
when you build those relationships, those bridges.
I
That's
know.
kinda great. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, I love that too. So, I mean, I have to say that this book is one of those books that you're either going to listen to it the way that I did and just like file it away as when I'm ready for this, it's here, or this book is going to take you a very long time. Because
Mm,
if you actually step through with him and do all the work and do these exercises while you're reading it for the first time, this is going to take you a while. This is
okay, and it
not
sounds like it should.
absolutely. But I'm just like preparing anyone who's hearing this and thinking like, "Oh, I'm going to do that this weekend." No, you're not.
No, you
No, you're not. It's a lot. But it's the work that needs to get done. And I think over time, I think he even had a Google sheet that like, cause he's a Google sheet guy, I guess, like I'm a Trello gal, but he had one that he used to like do a lot of these exercises in, and he created like a template that is available, I think, on one of the course chapters, like so that you can go and make a copy of the Google sheet and just use exactly what he's been talking to you about. You don't have to go figure out how to build it yourself. He's just giving it to you. Which again, awesome because like you don't need barriers. We don't need barriers getting between us
yeah.
and actually taking action on things. And
Yeah,
that I
having to
think,
figure it out
yeah, that
before
I think
doing
is
it,
what
yeah.
I love so much about his approach to things is that he's like, look, I could tell you all this stuff and it'll go in one ear and out the other, and some of it will stick, and that's awesome. Or I could give you this course and encourage you to do this right now while I'm telling you about it so that you actually take action. And that's his approach to things, and I think that's why he is so popular, because people get results because they don't just listen to a book and then never do anything with it and say like,
Yeah,
"Oh, yeah, that was a really good book." Like, no, they get results because they do the stuff. And like you said, like, I only did, like, a couple of the exercises and I got results. Imagine if I
yeah.
do all of it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it's really, really good, and it's definitely helping you like really get that clarity for yourself and then take it to the step of vetting, just like Noah was talking about, vetting it with potential customers and then hopefully turning them into the customer while you're talking to them about this idea and then iterating. He talks about how to iterate if they give you feedback that's like, oh, well, that just kind of broke my idea. Okay, well, now how do I approach this? You know what I mean? Like he addressed all of those things about how sometimes your first idea is not going to be great, but the feedback you get might actually give you the idea you wouldn't have come up with on your own.
That
You
is
know,
going to be
and
great. Yeah.
yeah, and how do you pivot to that and like say, okay, cool, let's try that and you know what I mean? So I just yeah, I love that.
So it sounds like this is one of those must reads for everybody,
Yeah.
whether you are just starting out and have an idea, or you're kind of stuck in the messy middle and you've already started, but are just kind of plateaued and are looking to make a little bit of movement and move that needle forward. Um, and it's going to.
Yeah.
So,
I think who it's for even more, I mean, it's for all those people, absolutely. But if I were to specifically recommend this book to a specific type of client or friend or whatever in the entrepreneur world, I would say the person who is a serial pivoter.
mm,
If you are a serial pivoter, and I say that with love because I am too, okay, this is not judgment. This is just why this is who this is for. If you're serial pivoting, it's because you're not doing this.
yeah.
You're not doing the market research. You're having the brilliant idea. You're running it by maybe one person, but probably no one before you invest time and energy into it.
And
Right.
probably not your client, the
Right.
one
Probably
you're
not the
running it
right
by. Yep.
people. Yeah.
Yep.
So you build this whole thing and then you're like, oh, wait, you didn't want that? Oops. Well, maybe I could do this. Right. Like that's, we're wasting time and energy that we don't have when
Yeah.
we're doing that. So if you would identify as a serial pivoter, this book is for you. And you need to get it and read it and do it.
I
Follow
love that.
it.
That's gonna be this episode's hashtag, serial pivoter. That's a good one.
Is that
I
even a
love it.
thing? I don't know if I made that up, but um okay, before I go into the story because I don't want to forget to tell the story because it's
Yes,
fun.
yes.
Do you have any other questions or thoughts or comment?
Well, a couple. I just wanna know, do you know when the book was published? And it doesn't seem like it was very new,
No.
and I'm not getting the vibe that you felt anything was dated, but do you think anything inside the book was a little dated? Because the world is changing so fast, especially for online business. It's constant change. So
Yeah.
what kind of vibes do you get there?
Okay, so I don't know. I could look it up and maybe we could throw it in the show notes or something later
Yeah.
because I don't know. Um I know that it was like or at least I guess that it was maybe around like 2018, 2019 vibes, I
Okay.
would say. Um and that kind of sort of answers your next question. Which it's not I wouldn't say it's dated, but I feel like and again this could just be because I do so much learning and research in this world and so maybe I know this but like I wouldn't if I didn't do that. He talked about a lot of tools as though they were like novel tools and I was like, "Well, duh. Like I know that one." You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because they were new at the time or
Mhm.
just like not as well known at the time and now like lots of people have been talking about them and so of course I know about them. Like things like Answer the Public.
Right. Oh,
Like
geez.
if
Yeah.
you're in the world of marketing in any way, shape, or form, but especially if you're doing content marketing, if you're
Good to
listening to
know.
this and you don't know what I mean when I say answer the public, first off, you're welcome because it
Yeah.
will be your new best friend. Go Google it right now.
Mhm.
But like, I've known about that for a long time, right? There's
Yeah.
plenty of people who
Yeah.
talk about it. So, like things like that. And he talked about Facebook, but I also know I also know personally that Facebook is not his favorite. So like he doesn't recommend using Facebook as like a resource in that way a ton, but like he does a little bit, you know. Um but yeah, I Answer the Public's the first thing that comes to mind that's like that felt a little dated to me, not because it's not still relevant, but just because he talked about it like it was this like secret that nobody knows about. And I'm like, dude,
Right.
yeah, we do. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Okay.
So
Okay. That
so
makes sense. That makes
maybe
sense.
maybe that was dated maybe a little bit. But most of I mean, really everything he was talking about was pretty timeless.
Well,
You
see,
know, maybe
that
the
and
method.
clarity
Yeah.
is timeless, right? And being
Yeah.
able to find it, that's the kind of thing that it will last forever. But I
Right.
just wanted to know if there was anything in there that was kind of, dated. And
Yeah, I mean, just
doesn't
maybe
really
just
sound
some of
like
the
it.
specific resources, but, like, you would just be able to translate them to whatever replaced that, you would just be able to translate them to whatever replaced that,
Yeah,
you know?
no.
So, yeah, it wasn't anything bad. It's not like he was telling me to, like, go to MySpace or Friendster or anything, you know? It was pretty
Oh my God,
current.
Friendster. Oh, you just dated yourself.
I know I did. Well,
I
with
love it.
MySpace too, because now anybody who uses MySpace, it's like only about music and stuff, right? Like you would never
Mhm.
use MySpace for anything other than that nowadays. But back in my day, you would have used it for other things. That's all I'm saying.
That's so funny.
Um, yeah, anything else? Any other
No, but I
questions?
am just dying to rehear your story. I
Rehear
think
my
it's so
story.
great. Yeah.
Um, okay, so story time. So if you don't want to hear the story because you're boring or whatever, you can be done now. And because I'm done talking about the book, I think. I think. Um,
Oh, and just to clarify, she really only we only talked about the first 2 chapters. So,
oh, not even.
yeah,
I
yeah.
really only delved into one chapter, guys, because there's so much. I mean, I touched loosely on what comes in the rest of the chapters, but I only really talked about one chapter.
Sounds like we could do a whole season just on the
I
one book.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, and
Sorry.
maybe we will someday. Um, but okay, so story time. So, a couple of weeks ago, I was traveling, I was at my parents' house, shout out mom and dad. We were visiting and I was working from their home office, my mom's home office, and, I was mostly doing, like, corporate work. I swear, bosses, I was doing my corporate work most of the time. But our favorite email platform, Kit, um, was doing a webinar. Well, so before that, they had like a live event, actually here in
Mhm.
Boise, of all places.
Mhm.
I was like, because Kit is based here, so like it makes sense that they would do it here. But timing and cost and whatever, I just couldn't go, and I was so mad that I couldn't go because Pat was one of the like keynote speakers, and I was like, shut up, he's gonna be in my town, and I could go, except I can't because it's too expensive. So I was really bummed about that. And then they announced that they were gonna have like a oh, I forget what they call it, like a virtual summit or something like that. And I thought, well, it'll probably be replays of the live event, but like, cool. Like, at least I'll get to see it. It's like, if you're a Salesforce person, let's like Dreamforce, like I can watch it
Mhm.
on demand, like awesome. So I was super excited. So I signed up for it. And then the day came, and of course, it was while I was on my trip, while I was supposed to be working. It was like an all day, basically, event of like back to back to back to back, like airings, right? Or so I thought. And I wasn't able to go to most of them live, but I'm like, well, they're replays, so I can watch them on demand. No big deal. But when it came to the Pat Flynn one, I was like, I kind of want to go watch it now. Like, I need a break from the corporate mentality. I'm just going to go watch it. I logged on, and to my complete surprise, this is not a replay. This is a live webinar. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I might be able to ask questions, like, what we can interact. Like, this is crazy. This is like a live webinar. So I was super excited. I was really glad that I showed up for that live. And I'm really kicking myself for not going to some of the others, like Amy Porterfield and things like that. I could have been there live and I wasn't. Just note to self for next year, the virtual summit might be real. It might be live. So go. But anyway, so I'm on there and I'm watching and I'm listening, and they're talking about his new book, and he's answering questions, stuff like that. And they're starting to the host of it was starting to talk about like how they're going to do a Q&A thing at the end. And I'm like, oh, cool. And I'm like, I'm sure I have like a million questions that I could ask Pat. So let me think of one so that I don't sound like an idiot in the Q&A chat, right? Well, then the host says, if you want to come on stage, now obviously virtual stage, okay? But if you want to come on stage, when you ask your question in the Q&A, in all caps, right? Bring me on stage. And I went, do I want to come
Okay.
on stage? But I'm like, I was not prepared, you guys, to be on stage. I'd been working all day. I'm not saying that like I would have gotten all dolled up, but I might have run a comb through my hair or something if I thought I was going to be, not because of Pat per se, but because like, I don't know how many people are watching this. You know what I mean? Like,
Invitation.
I am a on-camera person on YouTube. I am going to try to be at least professional, right? Plus, I'm also not in my home office with my curated background. So, like, I had my mom's background, which was nice. It's like a cool distressed brick wall and stuff like that, but it's not my space, not my camera, not my, all this stuff. So I was kind of having those like nerves of like, am I going to do this? Yes, I'm going to do this because when am I going to get this opportunity again? Like, I would be crazy not to do this. And I had a legit question. Like, I had been thinking about like a need to pivot my email strategy for a while. And I had been pushing the thoughts down because I didn't really know what to do with them. And, because it's a little bit nerve wracking when you've seen some growth to then make a change. And like, what if you upset half your people? Like this was
Yeah.
basically what the crux of the question that I wanted to ask was like, how do you prep your existing audience for a shift in what you're sending them? Now, some of them signed up for a specific thing and you may not be sending that anymore. Now you're sending something else. How do you prep that appropriately? And how do you, handle all of that? And, but I mean, I knew I needed to do it because, when you watch the unsubscribe count in a place that you don't want it to be, that's telling you something. That
Yes,
is a
yes.
different version of market research, but it is telling you you are not delivering
Mhm.
on what they thought they were getting. Right. So I knew that. I knew I needed to listen to it. So the whole time I'm like listening to them talk and whatever and getting, formulating the question or whatever and like stealing up my courage to type the words, bring me on stage. And I did. I typed the words. I typed my question because you were supposed to kind of like give the host a heads up on what the question was so he knew like, whatever. I don't think Pat was looking at them necessarily in advance, but he could see them. And so I did it and I was like, "Oh boy, here we go," and I'm like, "Well, he won't even get to me. Like, I'm sure they won't pick me, whatever." I was the first person they picked, you guys. The first person. But then it turned out that they only had 2 people actually do the
Oh.
come on stage. So it was like a big deal, and I was the only one who had a camera that was working, so I was really the only one who truly came on stage and asked the question, and so that was kind of fun and cool because I am a super fan of Pat Flynn, and Pat Flynn said my name and waved at me, and that was super fun, and so I asked the question, and, the whole time I was asking the question, he was listening engaged listening, which again, like all the things he talks about in his books, on his podcast, on his channel, all this stuff, he was doing and displaying and showing. It was like it brought a different level of authenticity to see him doing that. You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
Mhm.
you're not just like spewing all of that, like, oh, you should do that. But
Yeah.
like, I don't really do that, right? He was doing all the things, the active listening. He was nodding, like, yep, been there. I know exactly where you're going with this question because I've been there and because I've done that and, all that stuff. And so he answered the question in a great way and basically said, I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but he was essentially saying, like, A, don't be afraid of it. Don't treat it like it's this bad, scary thing. Like, if you're making this change because of what your analytics have been telling you, then and you're reading them correctly, then this is an exciting change for your audience, not a bad thing. So, approach it from that perspective. Realize that like you're not telling them a bad thing, you're telling them a good thing and they should be excited about it. So, approach it
Mhm.
from that perspective first. But he said, but it's also important to remember that when someone signs up for your email list, it's not some like pact that you've made with them that you will always send the same thing in the same format to them for the rest of time because that's what they signed up for. Like nobody has that expectation. So if you're shifting and pivoting for a real reason in your business, you are doing a service to the people who it's not for anymore by giving them a heads up and letting them opt themselves out.
I love it.
And I love that too, because yet again, it's like showing that integrity that you always feel from him, but like he's displaying it yet again, right?
Mhm.
So it was just such a great answer. And like honestly, nothing that I didn't already know and hadn't already told myself, but it comes back to what we've said more than once here on the podcast. Sometimes it's who says it, when they say it, and how they say it.
Mhm.
Sometimes it just sticks. And let me just tell you, I that very weekend took action, announced the change in the email, gave people the option to opt in or out or whatever. And ever since then, I've been doing it. This has been a couple weeks now, right? It's like July. That was somewhere in the middle of June. So it's been almost a month. And my unsubscribe rate has gone down. I am already seeing the change of people telling me, yep, that's what I was looking for. Where's that been this whole time? And it was just such a like, why didn't I do it sooner? Right. It's like we hold ourselves back so often because
Yeah.
of what we are projecting our audience, our customers, our whatever are going to say, think, do. Why are we not asking them?
Yeah.
So I guess I am circling back to the book a little bit,
A
right?
little
Like,
bit.
why are we not asking them? Stop assuming, stop thinking that we know everything
Mhm.
because we don't. Especially if what we're doing isn't working. We clearly don't know everything.
Mhm.
So just ask them. So yeah, it was very cool. And then they did send out a replay, so I do have the replay. I'm not gonna lie, I did screen record that one section because come on, guys, like once in a lifetime situation, I am gonna screen record it. I would love to share the audio here, but I don't know if we're allowed
Right.
to, and so I don't want to like cross a line on anybody's side, for Pat using his voice in a way that, wasn't whatever. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that to Kit because even though it was a free summit, so it's not like they were selling that information,
Yeah,
but
but
still,
IP is
I'm
IP.
just yeah,
But you can share a screenshot,
I
which
do have a
we
screenshot, yes.
will. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
maybe the screenshot will appear somewhere in the thumbnail for this episode.
Maybe. You
I
never
don't
know.
know. Maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was a pretty exciting, very unexpected, but one of those like just take the bull by the horns and just do it. Like even if it seems scary to like do something like that. And let me tell you, when we finished talking, and like camera off, mic off, whatever, my heart was racing. And like I am used to being on camera. I am used to talking in front of it wasn't that, it was just the like unexpectedness of all of it. Like I
I
did
think
not log on to this webinar expecting to be on camera. I did not expect to talk. I did not expect to talk to Pat Flynn or even have him be there live. Like none of that was expected, but I just took the messy action and did it anyway. And it was this awesome experience that I could tell you guys about that I wouldn't have had if I just wussed out.
that's
So,
the best thing about messy action, right?
yes,
It's that always the best experience. And I just kind of feel like my heart breaks for all of those people that were at that summit that hesitated, and didn't do it,
I know.
right? So I'm
I
so
know.
proud of you and so happy for that's just so
Thanks. It was
cool.
fun.
Watch your
It was
language,
super
Jolene.
fun.
So effing cool. I am so proud. It's great. I think it's fantastic. And being a super fan, that makes it even better because it's one thing if you were just some person who's like, who's this Pat Flynn guy? Oh, well, I have a question. I'll do it. No,
Yeah.
you are a super fan. So it's
Right.
it's has that much more meaning. And that's so great. It's so
Yeah.
exciting. I love it.
Yeah. And there's one last little bit that this was not about when I was talking to him, but this was something that came up during that summit.
Mm.
And I'm only bringing it up because it will probably end up coming up again in a future season of the podcast. And I was hinting at you, Jolene, about this before we started recording, but he talked about a book that you would not think of. It's kind of like when you did the episode on, what was it, The Art of Acting? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The art,
Yeah.
yeah.
The art of acting. Yeah.
I should know what it's called, Stella Adler. But
Stella
anyways,
Adler. Yeah.
um, how that was such an unexpected like business book, but how it had all this like business application and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
he talked about this book that when in the concept or the topic of being a good storyteller. And like,
Mm.
I mean, obviously we've talked about Story Brand on the podcast, and that's a really well-known book for that kind of thing and whatever. And it's very like entrepreneur focused. But the book that he was talking about is actually called Save the Cat. And it's the
Is that the one
last,
with the cat dangling on the cover?
you tell me, is that the one
Oh
with
my
the cat
God.
thing? Yeah.
I almost
Is
bought
this on
that
your
book.
TBR? No. Okay. Well, maybe it should be a We
Okay.
Read It Together book. But anyways,
Yeah.
it is actually, it's the subtitle is The Last Book on Screenwriting That You'll Ever Need, which is super interesting because you may or may not know this listening. I know Jolene knows this, but my husband's a writer. He's a screenwriter. He actually has some stuff that might be getting made in the near future, so that'd be exciting. But like he is a great storyteller, and that is one place where I've always felt like I don't want to say I lack at, but I know I can improve at it. You
Mm.
know, in a lot of different ways. Sometimes just in the clarity of getting to the point faster. Sometimes in the just the pacing and like really bringing in the details that are going to draw someone in or that they're going to relate to the most or whatever. And he was talking about this in the context of like, I mean, obviously email marketing because we were on a Kit summit and it's email marketing. So he was talking about it from that perspective of just how really understanding storytelling is so impactful when you're writing emails and communicating in that, format with your audience. And so when he said that, I was like, I mean, there are so many reasons why I have to get this book now. Like, so many. Now, I wish it was like Save the Dog. I don't know why it's a cat. I'm really not that much of a cat person, but there's probably a reason that it's a cat. So I will go with it, with the analogy. And I know that there are other versions of this. So I don't know if the one you
Yeah.
saw was the same one. Was it the same one?
Yes, that's the book that I almost picked up. And
Okay,
I
but there are others that are like Save the Cat with a similar cover, but they have a different subtitle. Like,
oh,
so
I'll
it's
have to look it up.
possible it was like a slightly different
But they
variation
were all
on,
about storytelling. The
yeah.
ones that I was looking at. So it could
Okay.
have probably not screenwriting specific,
Okay.
but it could have been about like novel writing or book writing,
Maybe.
something along
Yeah.
those lines. But yes, Save the Cat has been on my TBR, and I did not realize that there were different variations of it. And
Uh-huh.
that's kind of great. Ooh, I'll
Yeah.
read the one I wanted. You read the one you wanted, and then
Okay.
we have a whole new fun house.
Awesome. So I just gave you excuse to buy another book. Is that what I just
Wonderful.
heard?
I think you
I
kind of
heard it.
did. Yeah.
I totally heard it.
I will
Um,
rake it to sell.
so we'll plan that for sometime next season, probably, because
Yep.
this is like I have the actual hard copy book in front of me to read because I feel like this is one I'm gonna write notes in. Like it just felt like that one. Plus, I know nothing about Blake Snyder, so I was not even about to try to go for an audiobook. If there even was one, I didn't even look that far because I wasn't interested. I just wanted like the physical book that I could jot things in and write notes and stuff. So, um, if that book sounds interesting, actually, this could be interesting. If the book sounds interesting and you're listening to this, since we're both interested in it, and this is way in advance, unlike the introvert entrepreneur, which that just kind of snuck up on us as the same book. This one's way in advance. If this sounds interesting and if you want to work on storytelling, comment and let us
Yeah,
know or email us and let us know because maybe we'll turn this into like a book club or something.
that'd be fun.
Because that would be super fun. Because I feel like this could be potentially a very actionable kind of book, right? Where we all work on our emails and like writing better emails and making them more
Mhm.
interesting and more relatable and all of that. So this could be like a fun, like book clubby kind of thing that we do. So
I
let us
think so.
know if that's,
I'm
yeah,
down. Yeah. So
I'm totally
come
down.
on, guys. Get
Yeah,
in
that'd
there.
be super fun.
Leave a comment. Send us an email. If you're not already signed up for our email, which has a
Which you
title,
should
The
be
Page
because it's
Turner.
on Kit and we've been talking about Kit. So yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
if you're not,
If you're not, definitely sign up and we'll put it out there. And yeah, fun. You just hit reply
yeah,
and say, I'm in. I want to
yeah, or
save the
maybe
cat.
I want to yes, that's what we will make them say. I want to save the cat. Let's create a poll actually, and we'll
Mhm.
put it in the bottom of some of our emails. Make it easy, super easy for you if you're already subscribed. And if you're not, hurry up and subscribe. It's in the show notes anyway, so you can go click and subscribe. And if you just really, really don't want another email list coming at you, that's fine. We understand. We get it. But comment wherever you're listening or whatever to this podcast. And let us know that you would be interested in doing that. I have no idea the logistics, how, where, when. I don't know anything of that. But if this is interesting, let us know and we'll figure something out. The best way that you can support the podcast is to make sure that you are subscribed wherever you're listening and leave us a review. That's the only way that new people will find and join our community. The Success Through Community podcast is hosted by Kelly Gable and Jolene Mills, and all episodes are solely the opinions of the respective host. Our sound production and editing is done by Kelly Gable, and all visual creative, including our logo, was created by Jolene Mills. The Success Through Community podcast is an STC production.